The twin suns of Nelis burned low across the horizon, casting the plains in molten gold as Captain Trent Morgan climbed the last stretch of the dusty path. His boots left shallow prints in the powdery soil, each step heavier than the one before. The air shimmered with heat, and the horizon wavered like liquid glass. He was a man built from endurance, muscles taut from years of service, but even steel grew tired after war. 15 years in uniform, across 17 star systems, had left him with medals, scars, and an annoying emptiness no commendation could fill. His shuttle's fuel line had failed mid-route to a transport hub, and this unmapped outpost was the only sign of habitation for 100 kilometers. He hadn't expected much, just a roof, water, maybe a quiet night where nobody asked him about his rank, his wounds, or the lives he couldn't save. One night, he muttered under his breath, shifting the heavy cases slung over his shoulders. That's all I need. The settlement came into view as he crested the ridge, a small cluster of metallic roofed buildings nestled among fields of strange blue-tinged crops that shimmered faintly in the heat. The structures were clean, utilitarian, almost military in precision, but what struck Trent most wasn't the architecture. It was the silence. No laughter, no shouts, no voices until movement caught his eye. 3 figures stood at the gate, their silhouettes fluid against the sun's glare. As he drew closer, the shapes resolved into women, or what looked like women. Their skin was an iridescent blue, smooth and flawless, reflecting the twin light like living metal. Their eyes shone silver white, almost luminescent, and their hair white as frost seemed to move with the wind even when the air was still. They were undeniably alien, yet eerily familiar in posture and proportion. The first leaned casually against the gatepost, her stance confident, her black uniform hugging every curve with a mix of grace and danger. The second stood tall, arms folded over a bodysuit that gleamed cobalt under the suns, her gaze sharp and assessing. The third, draped in flowing white fabric, remained slightly bare. In the others, her expression unreadable but curious. Trent slowed his pace, instinctively scanning for threats, even as exhaustion pressed at his spine. The woman in black was the first to speak. "Welcome, human traveler," she said, her voice lilting, musical, carrying a tone that rippled through the air like a chord struck in harmony. "We were told you'd be staying the night." Her lips curved into a smile that was both friendly and predatory. "It's been a long time since we've had." "You're kind." Trent set his cases down, rolling his sore shoulders. "Just looking for a place to sleep," he said. "Nothing fancy." The second woman, the one with the authoritative presence, stepped forward. "I'm Kea, head of security for Nelis," she said evenly. "You'll forgive our curiosity. You're the first male visitor we've seen in over 3 cycles." Her eyes scanned him head to toe, not lecherously, but like a tactician appraising a potential ally or a risk. Trent frowned. "I don't see any men at all. Is that normal around here?" The 3 exchanged glances, and a woman in black laughed softly. "Oh, you noticed that quickly." "Yes, it's normal now. The government conscripted our males for mining operations 2 years ago. We run things ourselves these days." "Sounds peaceful," Trent said dryly. The quiet woman in white stepped forward then, her movements me. "I'm Eleni," she said softly. "I manage the guest house. Your room is ready." Her voice was gentle, almost human in its warmth. As she gestured toward the settlement, something flickered in her hand, an elegant metallic device that hummed faintly as she passed it subtly over his arm. Trent caught the motion, his soldier's instinct pricking. "What was that?" She blinked, her composure never breaking. "A precaution. We've had sickness here before. I needed to ensure you're not carrying contaminants." Her tone was apologetic, but her eyes told a different story. She was measuring him for something else. The woman in black smiled again. Forgive Elani's caution. I'm Leia, by the way. Cultural liaison. The way she said it made Trent think liaison meant more than diplomacy. You'll find Neelis welcoming. He followed them down the narrow street toward the guest house, aware of the eyes watching him from every doorway. The settlement was alive now, quiet but observant blue-skinned women of all ages stopping their work to stare, whispering behind delicate hands. Trent felt like a relic on display, the last artifact of a vanished species. They're curious, Leia said with an amused glance. It's not often we see a male of any kind, let alone a human. Oh, I've gathered, Trent muttered. You're safe here, Kea assured him. We value our guests. But Neelis has rules. Keep to assigned areas after nightfall, and don't wander into restricted zones. Trent's mouth quirked. You planning to shoot me if I do? Only if you deserve it, she replied without humor dot as they reached the guest house. Elani opened the door, revealing a clean, softly lit room inside. Please, make yourself comfortable, she said. Dinner will be prepared shortly. Trent hesitated in the doorway. Just one night, he repeated. Then I'll be gone. We'll see, Leia said with a glint of amusement. Fate has a strange sense of timing here. Later, at dinner, as the scent of alien spices filled the air, there is a custom here, she said lightly, her silver eyes glee. Ming. A small ritual we share with new guests. It promotes harmony and health. Elani set a bowl before him. It requires a brief touch, nothing more, she murmured. You'll feel a warmth. It's harmless. Trent raised an eyebrow, but extended his hand. Their fingers met and light flared between them, faint but unmistakable, a shimmering glow where skin met skin. The three women exchanged silent, startled looks, and Leia's smile deepened. Well, she whispered, her tone shifting from curiosity to something more intimate. It seems Neelis has been waiting for you. The sun had dipped below the horizon by the time Trent followed Leia, Kea, and Elani into the settlement's communal hall. The structure was larger than any other building in Neelis, a circular chamber built beneath a translucent dome that shimmered like frozen light. Strange vines twined along the walls, their petals glowing faintly blue, bathing the room in a soft, living radiance. Rows of curved benches ringed a central table, set with iridescent plates and crystal-like cups that pulsed faintly as though alive. The air was perfumed with spices he couldn't name, sharp and floral, blending with the faint hum that seemed to emanate from the very walls. As they entered, conversation dwindled. Dozens of blue-skinned women turned their silver eyes toward him, their voices falling to silence. Trent had been under fire, had stood on parade before generals and politicians, but this was different. Their attention wasn't hostility, it was hunger. Not the crude kind, but a quiet, aching curiosity, as though they were seeing something they had only imagined before. He resisted the urge to reach for the sidearm holstered under his jacket. Instead, he squared his shoulders, reminding himself that he was a guest. He could play along for one night. Leia guided him to the center table with a confidence that bordered on ceremony. We honor guests with shared energy, she said, her voice carrying easily through the hall. It is our way of balance. Trays of shimmering fruit and bowls of steaming grain were placed before them, and Elani's delicate hands moved with practiced precision, her expression serene but watchful. Kea remained alert, scanning the perimeter, ever the soldier in civilian skin. You said something earlier, Trent said finally, lowering his voice as the women began taking their seats. About balance. About my presence being beneficial. Leia's smile didn't fade, but her gaze sharpened. You noticed how they look at you. That isn't just fascination, Captain. It's instinct. Elani set a small dish before him, slices of pale, translucent flesh that smelled faintly of citrus and iron. Our kind maintains harmony through biological equilibrium, she explained softly. A balance of energies between genders. When that balance is broken, our health declines slowly at first, then catastrophically. You're saying you get sick without men? Not sick, Kea corrected, her tone clipped as though the word offended her. Unstable. Our immune systems, our emotions, even our thought patterns end to fracture. She folded her arms. The government's forced labor decree removed every male from the outer settlements. They said it would be temporary. Leia's expression darkened, but her voice remained smooth. It was not temporary. So now you want me to what? Trent asked, half amused, half uneasy. Provide? Balance? Leia leaned closer, her eyes bright in the dim light. In a way, the harmony ritual allows us to share your energy, your pheromones, to use your species' word. Human males emit a frequency astonishingly similar to ours, but stronger. More resonant, he snorted. You make it sound like I'm a walking medicine. Alani's gaze lifted to his, calm but direct. You might be. Before he could respond, a soft chime rang through the hall. The gathered women clasped hands across the tables, their silver eyes closing. The air thickened with something he could feel more than see, a quiet vibration like the hum of a distant engine. Leia reached for his hand. Relax, she whispered. Just breathe. Trent hesitated, but her fingers closed around his, warm and surprisingly strong. A subtle current passed between them, a pulse of heat that spread through his chest. Across the table, Ilani and Kea completed the circuit, and the energy surged. His pulse quickened. The glow he'd seen earlier flared again where their skin met, threads of golden light weaving between them and the others in the hall. Gasps rose from the surrounding women as the light spread, linking every clasped hand in a web of faint luminescence. The air smelled faintly of ozone and rain. What the hell is this? He breathed. Harmony, Leia whispered, eyes half closed, voice trembling with exhilaration. Your energy merges with ours. Do you feel it? He did an impossible warmth, flooding through his veins, a pulse that wasn't entirely his own. He felt their emotions like waves brushing against the edges of his mind, curiosity, relief, gratitude. For a fleeting moment, he wasn't alone in his body. Then, just as suddenly, the sensation ebbed, leaving him dizzy but strangely invigorated. The glow faded. Conversations resumed. The women laughed, softer now, the earlier tension replaced with something almost giddy. Kea exhaled slowly, as if steadying herself after a long breath. Remarkable, she murmured, studying him with new intensity. Your resonance is far stronger than expected. Congratulations, Trent said dryly. I glow in the dark now. Leia laughed, a sound like wind chimes in the fading light. Not glow, she said, her tone gentler now. Illuminate. You've brought something to us we haven't felt in years. Eleni approached with a handheld scanner, its surface alive with soft green light. If you'll allow me, she said, and when he nodded, she passed it near his shoulder. The device chirped softly, readings dancing across its screen. Her brow furrowed. Your biofield has already begun adapting. That shouldn't happen so quickly. Adapting? He echoed. To what? To us, she said quietly. Chaos shifted uneasily. We should keep this between us for now. The council would overreact. The council? Trent asked. We'll explain later, Leia said smoothly, touching his arm. The contact sent another faint shiver through him. For now, rest. Tomorrow, perhaps, we'll show you our gardens, and you can see how your presence is already helping. Helping? He repeated, but Leia was already walking toward the exit, her silver hair catching the glow of the bioluminescent vines. "Sleep well, Captain," she said over her shoulder. "You'll need your strength." As Trent watched them disappear into the dim corridor, he realized that for the first time in years, his exhaustion wasn't from war, it was from wonder. He had come to Neelis seeking only sleep, but the quiet settlement was already awake because of him. And somewhere deep in his chest, something long dormant stirred. A flicker of purpose that refused to die. Morning came slow on Neelis. Light spilling through a haze of sapphire mist that clung to the settlement like a living veil. The twin suns had not yet fully risen, their low glow turning the metallic rooftops into a mosaic of molten gold and blue fire. Trent Morgan stood by the window of his guest room, watching the fields beyond sway with the strange, bioluminescent crops that seemed to breathe with the wind. His reflection in the glass caught his eye. A faint golden shimmer pulsed beneath the skin of his forearm. He rubbed at it instinctively, half expecting it to vanish. It didn't. The glow dimmed only when he willed it to, fading like a heartbeat subsiding into calm. He exhaled slowly. "Great," he muttered. "Now I'm a walking flashlight." He had no idea what last night's harmony ritual had really done to him. But his body felt different, lighter, stronger, as if fatigue itself had been burned out of his system. The aches from travel were gone, replaced by a quiet hum beneath his skin, an energy that refused to be ignored. The air outside carried a subtle vibration, and when he focused, he swore he could hear it, the faint pulse of the town itself, like Neelis was alive and breathing in time with him. A soft knock came at the door. "Captain Morgan?" It was Ilani's voice, calm and even, yet layered with something that felt almost musical. "Come in," he said. A door slid open, and she stepped inside, her white robes gleaming faintly in the morning light. She carried a slender tablet and a small metallic case that hissed softly when she set it on the table. "You slept well, I hope?" He gave a faint grin. "Hard not to, after whatever you people did to me." Her lips curved into the ghost of a smile. "You mean the ritual? You adjusted remarkably fast." She touched the tablet, and a holographic display flickered to life, 3 glowing energy signatures hovering in the air. One was unmistakably human. The other 2 mirrored the distinctive Nevalian biopattern, smooth, rhythmic waves of blue light. The 3rd signature pulsed gold, bright and irregular, a fusion of both. "That's you," Ilani said, pointing to the golden pulse. "Your biofield has merged with ours. It's extraordinary." Trent frowned. "Merged? You mean contaminated." "Adapted," she corrected gently. "Human physiology is surprisingly receptive to Nevalian energy frequencies. The glow you're experiencing isn't just visual, it's a byproduct of resonance. You're syncing with our environmental field." "You say that like it's a good thing?" "It is," she said quietly. "For us, for you? I don't know yet." Before he could respond, the door opened again. Kea entered, her posture as straight as a rifle barrel. Her dark blue uniform caught the light, emphasizing her commanding presence. "You're awake," she said. "Good. Leia's waiting in the plaza. The council wants to speak with you." "Council?" Trent echoed. "I didn't realize this was turning into a diplomatic visit." "Everything turns diplomatic eventually," Kaya said dryly, gesturing for him to follow. Outside, Neelis was stirring. The women he'd seen the night before moved through the streets with renewed vigor, their steps lighter, faces brighter. A few waved shyly as he passed, and though it should have felt unnerving, there was something disarmingly genuine in their expressions, like gratitude. Leia was waiting in the plaza near a low fountain that rippled with glowing water. She looked radiant in the dawn light, her silver hair tumbling freely, her black attire replaced by a softer garment of deep violet. "Captain," she greeted warmly, stepping forward. "You look transformed." "You mean glowing," he said. "I noticed." It suits you." She smiled, but there was an undertone of worry behind her poise. "The council will want to understand what happened last night. They're cautious, and not without reason. But before that, there's something I need to show you." She led him past the fountain, through a narrow corridor that descended beneath the plaza. The air grew cooler as the light dimmed, the walls lined with crystalline veins that pulsed faintly in rhythm with his heartbeat. The corridor opened into a vast chamber, circular and glowing with pale blue luminescence. At its center lay a shallow pool of liquid light. "This is the sanctum of resonance," Leia said reverently. "It predates Neelis itself. Our ancestors built it long before we learned the science behind it. It was once used for union rites. When two souls sought harmony, they would join here, sharing energy until both were renewed." Trent looked around, uneasy awe in his eyes. "You want me to believe this is spiritual?" "It's biological and spiritual," she said softly. "Two words for the same truth." Elani entered behind them, her scanner already humming. "This chamber amplifies resonance," she explained. "It's where we confirmed the bond between mates, leaders, or healers. Last night's glow suggests you already initiated a partial connection. Here, we can understand its depth and maybe its cause." Trent folded his arms. "I didn't exactly sign up to be your science project." "You didn't," Leia agreed gently. "But you also didn't come here by chance. Our seer said a man would arrive, a man whose presence would change the rhythm of our people." "A prophecy," he said flatly. "Perfect." Kea's voice came from behind him. "She said he would carry both war and peace inside him, that his scars would heal our imbalance." "You expect me to believe that?" he asked, looking between them. "I just needed a place to sleep." Leia stepped closer, her eyes luminous in the dim blue light. "And yet you're standing in a sacred chamber, glowing like a star, and my people feel whole for the first time in years. Believe what you wish, Captain, but you're already part of something bigger than rest." He opened his mouth to argue, but the words caught in his throat as Elani activated the pool. The liquid shimmered, casting rippling light across the chamber walls. "Step closer," she urged. "If we can synchronize your field, we might stabilize the connection." Trent hesitated, but something deeper curiosity, perhaps instinct, guided his steps. He knelt by the water. The glow brightened, threads of gold spiraling through blue until they merged into brilliant white. Leia placed her hand on his shoulder, Kea and Elani joining the circle. The chamber hummed, low and alive, like the breath of a sleeping giant. "Focus," Leia whispered. "Let it flow." The light engulfed them, and suddenly Trent felt weightless. Memories not his own surged through his mind, fleeting visions of Nivalian men being taken away, of empty homes and silent fields. He felt their loneliness, their yearning, their fading strength. And in return, he sensed their wonder at his presence, their hope reigniting through him. The bond deepened, pain and comfort merging, until he could no longer tell where his thoughts ended and theirs began. Then darkness. When his vision cleared, the light had dimmed. He was still kneeling beside the pool, his pulse racing. The three women looked drained but radiant, their skin pulsing with faint light. Eleni spoke first, her voice trembling. "It's confirmed. The resonance is complete." "Meaning?" Trent managed, his throat dry. "Meaning," she said, meeting his gaze, "you're not just compatible with us. You're changing us, and we're changing you." Trent looked down at his hands, still faintly glowing, and for the first time, a flicker of fear crossed his face. The next morning broke sharp and clear, the air humming faintly, as if the whole planet had drawn a breath and held it. The settlement of Neelis shimmered in the light of the twin suns, its metallic roofs throwing reflections across the blue fields that stretched to the horizon. Trent Morgan stood outside the guest house, his jacket hanging open, eyes fixed on his forearms where the faint golden glow pulsed with every heartbeat. It wasn't imagination anymore. The glow had depth, rhythm alive under his skin like light passing through water. His senses were sharper too. He could hear conversations half a street away, the flutter of wings from birds beyond the crop lines, even the slow heartbeat of someone approaching before he turned and saw her. Chaos stood in the path, the same calm authority as always, though something in her face had softened since the ritual. "You're early," she said. "Eleni wants to see you in the lab. She says the readings from last night are unprecedented." Trent gave a short, humorless laugh. "That's one word for it. I feel like I'm plugged into a generator." Kea tilted her head, studying him. "Do you feel unwell?" "No," he admitted. "Too well, actually." "That's what worries me." She stepped closer, her gaze flicking down to his hands. "You're glowing again, so I noticed." He tried to sound casual, but his voice came out low, uneasy. Kea's expression tightened. "Whatever's happening, it's affecting the others too." Some of the women who were at the ritual reported strange dreams, heightened energy. Their readings are stabilizing above normal levels. "You mean they're improving?" "Yes, but it's spreading beyond those who were there. Women who've only seen you in passing are showing changes. This isn't just a bond. It's a resonance field." "Meaning?" "Meaning," she said, "your biology is projecting something we can't control." They started toward the laboratory, the path winding through the heart of Nelis. The settlement was buzzing now, the quiet reserve of before replaced by open energy. Everywhere he looked, women were laughing, moving faster, working with vigor. Children chased each other through the glowing streets, their silver eyes bright with life. When they saw him, they stopped and waved. It should have been heartening. Instead, it unnerved him. His footsteps quickened. Elani's laboratory stood at the far end of the plaza, a domed structure lined with translucent panels that pulsed like the veins of a living creature. Inside, the air was cool and sharp with the scent of sterilized metal and floral antiseptic. Elani was already bent over a holographic display when they entered, her silver eyes luminous with fatigue and fascination. "Captain," she said without looking up, "you're evolving faster than expected." "That's not something I like hearing from a scientist," Trent replied dryly. Elani gestured to the hovering projection beside her. It showed strands of DNA twisting in fractal loops, two distinct colors, gold and blue, weaving into one another until the pattern glowed white. "Your cells are absorbing Nivalian proteins," she said. "Not rejecting them, integrating them. You're adapting to our biology." "You're saying I'm turning into one of you?" "Not exactly," Eleni said. "But the line between human and Nivalian is blurring. Your pheromones now emit the same frequencies as ours, only stronger. It's creating a biofield that influences those around you. That's why the settlement feels alive again." Trent stared at the display. "Can it be reversed? Would you want it to be?" Leia's voice came from behind them. She entered the lab like light, entering a room calm, confident, a warmth in her tone that made everything else fade for a moment. "You've done more for us in a single night than the Coalition did in 2 years." "That wasn't my intent," he said. "I came here because my ship broke down." "And yet," she said, stepping closer, "you were the one who arrived. Not the next traveler, not a surveyor or trader you. Maybe intent doesn't matter when the universe decides otherwise." Kea frowned. "Intent matters when consequences are this large. The Council will demand a decision. They'll either sanctify the bond or call for isolation." "Isolation?" Trent repeated. Eleni nodded. "There are factions within the Coalition and the Directorate that monitor anomalies like this. If word spreads about a human merging with another species' biology, you'll be declared a biohazard or worse, property. The word hit him like a punch. Property, he echoed, eyes narrowing. You're saying they'll come for me. For you, Ka confirmed, and for us. The mining directorate already suspects something. They've tightened orbital patrols. We intercepted a signal this morning. They're sending a scientific reclamation team. Extraction team, Trent corrected. I've seen that play before. Leia's gaze hardened. Then we prepare. We've lived without protection too long. If they think they can take what we've built, they'll learn otherwise. The quiet woman who had once met him with curiosity now radiated fire. Ka nodded in agreement. Our defenses are limited, but functional. With your tactical experience, I can help, Trent said. But first, we stabilize this. He motioned to his faintly glowing hands. If this biofield can be amplified, it can probably be contained. Ailani's eyes lit with realization. Containment through synchronization. If we extend the resonance through the sanctum, the entire settlement could harmonize to your frequency. The field would act as both shield and stabilizer. You're talking about linking hundreds of minds at once, Ka said sharply. It's dangerous. So is doing nothing, Trent said. And if that team arrives before we're ready, they'll strip this place bare. The room fell into silence. Finally, Leia placed her hand on his chest, just over the glow pulsing beneath his ribs. You're one of us now, Trent Morgan. Whether by fate or by science, your fight is ours. His pulse steadied under her touch. Then let's make it count, he said. Outside, thunder rolled a low, mechanical growl that wasn't weather. Ka turned toward the sound, face pale. Dropships, she whispered. They're early. Trent reached for his pack, the old instincts coming alive. Then it's time to show them what balance really looks like. The glow in his skin flared, answering his words like a vow. The sky above Neelis oiled with light. The twin suns had barely cleared the horizon when the first dropships pierced the clouds, their engines roaring like a storm as they descended toward the settlement. The air smelled of ionized metal and rain, the kind that came before violence. From the plaza, Trent watched the black silhouettes fall, 3 heavy transports flanked by smaller escort craft. His instincts calculated trajectory, approach vectors, troop numbers, all before the first one even touched down. Old habits, dead habits he thought he'd buried. But war had a way of finding him, even on a world that was supposed to be asleep. Around him, Neelis came alive. Blue-skinned women raced to seal the perimeter gates, their movements swift and efficient. The air hummed faintly with power as the crystalline structures around the plaza began to pulse with light. Leia stood near the fountain, issuing calm, rapid commands to the crowd, her silver eyes burning with resolve. Ka barked orders through a wrist communicator, coordinating patrols and activating defensive grids. Ailani was in the lab, her voice crackling through the comm in Trent's ear. Energy readings rising. Your field's already interacting with the sanctum relays. If we synchronize them now, we can stabilize the barrier for about 15 minutes before the reactors overheat. 15's all we'll need, Trent said, checking the rifle slung across his back. It wasn't human tech. It fired condensed plasma, a gift from Ka's armory, but it felt right in his hands. Once they see resistance, they'll call for a tactical withdrawal and wait for authorization. Bureaucrats always do. And if they don't? Ka asked, tightening her gloves. Trent's grin was quick, feral, the ghost of the man he used to be. Then they meet the only man in town. The first ship landed hard beyond the fields, dust spiraling into the air. Metallic figures poured out heavily armored, faceless, bearing the insignia of the mining directorate. Their amplified voices echoed across the valley. This colony is under reclamation order. Stand down and surrender unauthorized biological materials for extraction. Unauthorized materials, Leia repeated under her breath, her tone cold. They mean you. Yeah, Trent said. I figured. He moved through the streets, his boots crunching on the glassy soil, the faint golden glow beneath his skin intensifying with every step. He could feel the women around him hundreds of miles, brushing against his awareness like currents converging toward a single point. Fear, determination, defiance, it all flowed into him. He didn't push it away. He took it, molded it, returned it as strength. Eleni, he said, tapping his com. Activate the synchronization. On your mark. Do it. The sanctum pulsed. A wave of energy rippled outward through the foundations of Neelis, invisible yet immense. The faint glow that lingered beneath Trent's skin flared to full brilliance, cascading through the streets like sunlight reflected through water. All across the settlement, Yevalians froze in awe as their own bodies began to glow, blue interlaced with gold, connected to him through an unseen thread. The invading soldiers hesitated as the light reached them. Their scanners malfunctioned, optics blurring under interference. Now, Ka ordered. Defensive turrets hidden among the rooftops activated, firing arcs of blue plasma that carved through the landing zone with surgical precision. The first wave of attackers went down before they could fire a shot. Trent moved through the chaos like a storm given human form. Every movement was instinct sharpened by the field that linked him to the settlement. When one soldier raised his weapon, Trent already felt it coming, his senses extended through the harmony field. He pivoted, fired, and the shot went clean through the enemy's chestplate. He didn't just see the battlefield. He felt it. Every life pulsed like a heartbeat in the glow around him. Leia joined the defense line, her staff emitting arcs of resonant energy that bent enemy fire away. She looked like something born of lightning and grace. Ka coordinated air defense, barking orders as turrets locked onto the escort ships. They're regrouping, she called out. Second wave incoming. Hold formation, Trent said, voice steady. They'll try a pincer next. East flank, be ready. Even as he spoke, the ground shook dropships repositioning for a secondary landing. Through the haze, he saw them. Mechanical walkers, sleek and insect-like, unfolding as they hit the dirt. Their targeting lasers swept toward the plaza. Eleni, status. He barked. Her voice came through, breathless. Reactors are overheating. We've got maybe 5 minutes left before the barrier collapses. We don't need 5, Trent said. We just need to finish this. He broke cover, sprinting toward the advancing walkers. Plasma blasts lit the air around him, searing past his shoulders. But the harmony field moved with him, rippling like a living shield. The glow beneath his skin flared, and every step felt lighter, faster, stronger. He reached the first walker and leapt higher than he should have been able to. His hand met the metal hull, and the instant he touched it, golden energy erupted, spreading across the machine's surface like veins of molten light. The walker convulsed, circuits frying under the surge. It collapsed in a heap of smoke and fire. The others faltered, their targeting systems scrambling in the radiant interference. Behind him, Leia's voice rang out, clear as a bell. Neelis stands free. The remaining soldiers hesitated, and in that hesitation, they broke. Retreat orders crackled over their comms, and one by one the ships began to lift, engines screaming as they fled into the sky. Silence followed, broken only by the low hum of the fading barrier and the distant crackle of burning metal. Trent stood in the plaza, chest heaving, skin still glowing faintly. Around him, the people of Neelis emerged from cover. Cheers rippled through the crowd, their voices carrying into the morning air. Ka lowered her weapon and approached, her normally guarded expression softening. They won't be back soon, she said. You bought us time. Time's good, Trent said. We'll need it. Leia came forward, her face illuminated by the last flickers of the Harmony field. The Coalition will see this, she said. They'll have to respond now. Alani's voice came through the come again, weary but triumphant. I recorded everything, the readings, the attack, the barrier. It's all proof. And the data confirms it, Trent. Your field is stable now. You've become a living resonance. He looked around at the shining faces, the light fading from his skin, but not from their eyes. No, he said quietly. We've become one. Then, as the suns broke over the horizon, Neelis glowed not with fire or weaponry, but with life. The people of a forgotten settlement had stood against giants and won, bound together by a human who had only wanted a place to sleep, and instead found a reason to stand. The suns rose slowly over Neelis, casting the rebuilt settlement in amber light. Smoke still curled faintly from the blackened wrecks of the Directorate ships on the outskirts, where fields once shimmered undisturbed. But the air that morning was alive, clean, sharp, humming with victory and the pulse of a world that had just remembered how to breathe. The people of Neelis moved through the aftermath in silent unity. Tools replaced weapons. Laughter replaced the drone of engines. From the plaza, where the final skirmish had ended, golden traces of Trent's resonance still lingered in the air like ghostly fireflies, refusing to fade. He stood near the fountain that had been their makeshift command post, now surrounded by the faint shimmer of energy still leaking from his skin. It was quieter inside him now, not the blinding storm of the battle, but a steady rhythm, like a second heartbeat. He looked up as Leia approached, her silver hair catching the sunlight, her expression a mix of exhaustion and pride. You should rest, she said softly, echoing the words he'd once spoken when he first arrived. That's the funny part, he replied, his voice low. I came here looking for rest. Now I don't think I could stop if I tried. Leia smiled, and for a moment her composure faltered, the leader giving way to the woman. They're alive because of you. Because you believed we were worth fighting for. No, he said, shaking his head. Because you believed first. I just followed through. Kea joined them, still in partial armor, the polished plates catching the glow beneath her skin. Her usual restraint couldn't hide the faint spark of admiration in her eyes. The Coalition responded to our transmission, she said. A delegation is inbound. They'll be here within hours. And the miners? Trent asked. Recalled, Kea replied. The Directorate was ordered to stand down pending investigation. It's over for now. Elani arrived last, carrying a crystalline vial that pulsed faintly gold blue, the same hue as the light that had filled the sanctum. She looked between them, her expression equal parts wonder and disbelief. We completed the synthesis, she said, her voice trembling with restrained excitement. The compound is stable, fully self-replicating. Every Nivalian cell that absorbs it will produce its own resonance field. No more dependency, no more biological imbalance. It's over. Leia exhaled softly, her hand finding Trent's arm. You've given us back what they took. Elani smiled faintly, but her scientific gaze lingered on Trent longer than comfort allowed. There's something else, she admitted. A discovery made while stabilizing the compound. I traced the harmonic signature in your DNA, the mutation that allowed you to merge with us. It isn't random. Trent frowned. Meaning? Meaning, she said slowly, that it already existed, buried in your genetic code, hidden, dormant, until our resonance woke it. She touched her tablet and projected a pattern of spiraling double helixes in the air, 2 streams of light, human and Nivalian, merging perfectly. These structures match records from an ancient Nivalian archive, from a project known as the Harmony Initiative. It was designed to ensure biological continuity between species in case of collapse. Chaos' brow furrowed. That was thousands of years ago, before our colonies scattered. Eleni nodded, and the records indicate that the seed material for the initiative came from off-world, from humans, or rather their precursors. Your species and ours share a genetic root. Silence fell. Even the air felt still, as though the entire planet leaned closer to listen. Leia's silver eyes widened, the revelation settling like dawn across her face. So when you came here, it wasn't an accident, Trent finished quietly. I wasn't a stranger. I was coming home. The words hung between them, heavy and electric. Alani's voice softened. Your arrival completed a cycle that began millennia ago. Humanity and Nivalians were never meant to be separate. You're the bridge, the living proof of what both species were meant to become. Trent looked out across Neelis, the women rebuilding, children laughing, the faint hum of life that pulsed in the soil. He thought of the war he'd left behind, of the loneliness that had followed him from one world to the next. I spent years looking for somewhere to belong, he said. Turns out it wasn't a place. It was people. Chaos smiled faintly. Not bad for a man who only wanted a bed. Best detour I ever made, he said, his tone warm, his eyes distant. As the suns climbed higher, the coalition cruiser broke through the upper clouds, gleaming silver against the blue. The council of elders gathered in the plaza, and Leia stepped beside him, her presence steady, serene. You'll speak for us? She asked. For both worlds? He corrected. No more lines in the sand. When the delegation arrived, it wasn't with soldiers, but diplomats and healers. Their leader, a tall, copper-skinned human woman draped in the insignia of the Galactic Coalition, stepped forward and bowed. Captain Morgan, she said. Or should I say Ambassador now? The Coalition recognizes the sovereignty of Neelis and your role in this new accord. You've changed more than one world today. Trent nodded once, the glow beneath his skin soft but steady. Change was overdue. The ceremony that followed blurred in light and sound, vows spoken, documents sealed, the sound of a people claiming their place among the stars. When it was done, the plaza erupted in cheers, voices of every tone rising into one harmony that vibrated through the very ground. Later, in the quiet that followed, Trent stood at the edge of the settlement, watching the suns sink toward the horizon. Leia, Kea, and Elani joined him, their forms outlined in soft gold. So, Leia said, slipping her hand into his, what now, Captain? Now? He smiled faintly. Now we see what comes next. You could leave, Kea said, not as challenge but acknowledgement. You've done your part. I could, he said, but I won't. Elani looked at him, her voice gentle but sure. You've already become one of us. No, he said, turning to face them fully. We've become something new. The wind shifted, carrying laughter from the plaza, the scent of growing crops, the warmth of life reborn. Above them, the coalition ship rose again, its engines glowing against the twin suns. Neelis shimmered beneath it, no longer an isolated colony, but the birthplace of a new kind of future. As the light deepened and the stars began to pierce the sky, Trent's glow mingled with theirs, 4 silhouettes bound by golden radiance. The universe felt vast again, but for the first time in his life, Trent Morgan wasn't drifting. He had found his home, not in walls or planets, but in the space between hearts that had learned to beat as one.